Cancer Society. Cancer continues to be a life-changing, life-threatening disease and leading cause of death for Canadians. We know that from the 2023 Canadian cancer statistics released just this morning that the number of people living with or beyond cancer in this country continues to grow to over 1.5 million people. Here in Ontario, 94,100 are expected to be diagnosed with cancer, and 32,200 are projected to die from the disease this year. At the Canadian Cancer Society, we are committed to improving and saving lives. That's why we're always looking for new ways to prevent cancer, find it early, and treat it more successfully. It's why we're always ready to give people with cancer the help and support they need to lead more fulfilling lives, including advocating for progressive policies to the Ontario government to tackle some of these challenges. We are pleased to see two such healthy public policies announced in the last week's fall economic statement, including the reduction in age eligibility for self-referral for breast cancer screening from 50 down to 40, and the introduction of a vape tax to reduce youth vaping. The cost of cancer is increasingly a challenge for many Ontarians living with cancer and their caregivers. When someone faces a serious illness like cancer, their journey is not just medical. It also impacts their mental health and adds undue financial stress to an already challenging time. At CCS, we believe that no one should worry about how they will make ends meet or their job security during their cancer treatment, but far too many do worry. That's why I'm pleased to be joining you all here today for an exciting announcement that'll better protect workers in Ontario living with cancer or any other critical illness. And now I'll turn it over to Minister David Piccini to share this positive news. Thank you.
Hillary. Thank you, Hillary, for that kind introduction. It's wonderful to be here with all of you today. A special thank you to the incredible team at Fire Station 1 here in Welland firefighters for hosting us. I'm honored to be here with my colleague, MPP Birch. Thank you for being here, Jeff, and leaders from some of Canada's most prominent charitable institutions. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Greg Horton, President of the Ontario Professional Firefighters Association, for your advocacy. Greg, thank you for all that you do. He's joined by firefighters here and across our province, and I appreciate their service. These are heroes who save lives and keep our families safe. And under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government has introduced historic changes to put Ontario's workers in the driver's seat of their careers and their lives. Our mission is to build a province that leaves no one behind, because every worker deserves to come home safely to their family at the end of a day. That's not the case, and so collectively, we have to strive to do better. And today, I'm announcing an important step on that journey. Every workplace injury and illness should be preventable. And my ministry and the incredible team at Labour invests over $100 million annually in workplace health and safety for this very reason. But we know that there are 134,000 workers who rely on the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board for their compensation. I know their president and CEO, Jeff Lang, couldn't be with us here today, but he sends his best and is leading transformative change at the WSIB. We know too many, as a result of physical, mental injuries or illnesses, suffer on the job and are injured in the province of Ontario. And while our #1 goal is always to give these men and women the support they need to return to work, to contribute to Ontario's economy and build their communities, we know that that's not always possible. That is why today I'm proud to announce that our government will be introducing legislation that would, if passed, support injured workers by enabling super-indexing increases to the WSIB benefits above the annual rate of inflation. You know, we live in uncertain times, and injured workers deserve to know that their government has their back, from the COVID pandemic to the uncertainties we see on a global stage. Ontario is not immune. And workers deserve to know that in these uncertain times, government will be there to support them when they're home injured. This has never been done in Ontario before, and I'm proud that under the leadership of Premier Ford, we're proposing that to the legislature next week. Our government has heard loud and clear from injured workers that they need more support, and today is a historic day to make that happen. We also recognize the enormous toll receiving a diagnosis of a critical illness such as cancer can take. I know I speak on behalf of many here today. That's happened to my family, and it's never news you want to hear. In addition to the stress of managing one's illness, workers need to deal with the potential of unexpected time off. While there are financial supports available through federal employment insurance benefits, it should be a given that someone's job will be waiting for them when they return, which unfortunately is not always the case, especially in precarious employment. And that is why my ministry will also be launching consultations on how to implement a new personal critical illness, 26 weeks, job-protected leave under the Employment Standards Act, to match the length of federal employment insurance benefits, which are 26 weeks federally. Because nobody should be stuck at home or in the hospital battling cancer or another critical illness and have to worry about losing their job. That's not going to happen here ever again in the province of Ontario. And I cannot believe that it hasn't been done until today. Finally, as everyone is aware, we're here in a fire hall in every community, just like here in Welland. Firefighters are on the front lines in protecting our lives. They're heroes. They run into burning buildings while we run from them. And they should know that the people of Ontario have their backs. But unfortunately, it doesn't always seem that that's the case. And you know, good public policy often starts with a story. And I remember in my first few weeks on the job, I was a fundraiser for Runnymede for firefighters and first responders. And I was approached by Welland firefighters who are here today. Thank you for coming up to me, who told me the story of Captain Craig Bowman. Craig served with distinction, 22 and a half years of service, and sadly died of esophageal cancer. Until today, his diagnosis and his condition would have received no support from the WSIB. I'm joined here today by Craig's family, his wife Allison and his daughter Lexi, who will be speaking, and his son Colin. And Allison, whom I called after that day on my walk home, I was going back to see my wife that day. Allison will never have that opportunity. And Allison told me about her husband. And she said that when he was in hospice after receiving that diagnosis, he said he wanted to hang on to receive WSIB supports. And she made a call to the Premier and the then Minister, Monty McNaughton. She called them and told about Craig's story. And he was hanging on, wanting to know that his family would be supported. And it's not just his story, Captain Bowman's story. It's every other firefighter, knowing that they will be protected, that their families, God forbid, they are exposed to an occupational illness, that their families will be protected. And he was hanging on, and she got a commitment from Premier Ford that we would get this done. Thanks to her advocacy, thanks to Welland firefighters' advocacy, thanks to Greg's advocacy and the team, thanks to my colleague MPP Birch, that day is today. And that commitment was made from Premier Ford to Allison that she would be protected and that families who, God forbid, would ever encounter such circumstance would be protected. So I want to thank you, Allison, for your leadership. Thank you for telling Captain Bowman's story to all of us. We'll never be able to bring Captain Bowman back, but he lived a life of purpose, and he has left a legacy now. And the reason I'm standing here today is that our government will be introducing new measures to protect heroes like Captain Bowman, including lowering the necessary period of employment prior to the diagnosis of esophageal cancer in firefighters from 25 to 15 years. This was an ask of firefighters so that we can make sure no family has to go through what Captain Bowman's family endured. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government will always stand with workers. Captain Bowman leaves behind a legacy. Captain Bowman lived a life of purpose, and firefighters will, thanks to his leadership, forever be protected in their line of duty. And I want to thank the Bowman family for being here today. Whether it's preventing injuries and illnesses, providing financial support, or protecting jobs, we will always have firefighters' backs. And I'd like to thank my colleague MPP Birch. I'd like to thank everybody who's been here today. This is truly just good public policy, no partisanship here. This is the right thing to do, and I'm glad that politics is a two-way street, and for those watching at home, sometimes they don't realize that sometimes good public policy just starts with a story. And this was a sad one, but it has a happy ending. So with that, I'd like to turn the mic over to Lexi, Captain Bowman's daughter, who will deliver some remarks. Thank you for being here, Lexi.
Thank you. My dad, Captain Craig Bowman, was one of the many firefighters to be diagnosed with late-stage incurable cancer, being diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer in May of 2022 and given only 8 months to live. WSIB denied his claim because he did not have the 25 years of service required for a firefighter's esophageal cancer to be considered work-related. Instead, he had worked 22.5 years. In May of this year, after an unthinkable battle, he was moved to Hospice Niagara. In hospice, his nurses told us that they felt he wasn't at peace and that he was unable to let go due to unfinished business. Myself, my brother, and my mother had already told him that it was okay to go. We knew that he was holding on because of his WSIB denial. He couldn't go on without knowing that his family was not taken care of. We then received a call from former Minister of Labour Monty McNaughton, who had learned of my dad's situation and wanted to help. He told us to tell my dad that our government promised that they would work on this right away. This gave him the peace that he deserved. The next day, my dad made the ultimate sacrifice at just 47 years old. I promised him that I would be his voice and to fight for change for all firefighters and their safety. Today I can say that with the unwavering support of Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Labour David Piccini, former Minister of Labour Monty McNaughton, MPP Jeff Birch, Senator Hassan Yousaf, and many other government parties, the government has begun to fulfill their promise, and the first step in the promise that I made to my father is moving forward. The years of service required for esophageal cancer to be considered firefighting related is now 15 years in the province of Ontario. This means that my dad, along with many of his brothers and sisters of the fire service, will be recognized in this province as the true heroes that they are. But there is still more work to be done. We must look at all cancers and service year requirements. Current year requirements are not based on, nor do they reflect current science. Firefighters face chronic exposure to thousands of carcinogens. These carcinogens are absorbed dermally, inhaled, and ingested. Carcinogens accumulate on and inside firefighters' protective bunker gear, as well as in their stations. The bunker gear that is designed to keep them safe even kills them. Bunker gear contains per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, known carcinogens put into gear that is meant to protect them. We need more research on firefighting-related cancers within Canada, as well as a database of firefighting-related cancer incidences to assist in the study of rare and rapidly fatal cancers. We need safety measures such as standardized decontamination and hall safety requirements to prevent these cancers from happening in the first place. When the alarm goes off, these firefighters put themselves into harm's way every day without a second thought. We owe it to them and to their families to ensure their safety and, when needed, compensation and recognition when making the ultimate sacrifice. Today, the Ontario government is sending a message that the health and safety of these first responders is a priority. I will continue to be my father's voice in advocating for change and educating firefighters on cancer prevention. On behalf of our family, my dad, our firefighting family, and all firefighters, thank you to the Government of Ontario for hearing our voices. Now, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce OPFFA President Greg Horton.
Thank you, Lexi. Amazing words from a very strong daughter of Captain Craig Bowman. Good morning, Minister Piccini, the Bowman family, distinguished guests, and my brother and sister firefighters. My name is Greg Horton. It's my distinct honor to speak to you today representing the Ontario Professional Firefighters, 12,000 members. In July of 2022, the Cancer Agency of the World Health Organization, IARC, classified cancer in firefighters as a Group 1 occupational hazard, the highest level of carcinogenic intake possible. Firefighters are routinely exposed to carcinogens, chemicals, and other toxins while working to protect the lives and property of our fellow Ontarians. Cancer is the leading cause of death in firefighters. 74% of all firefighter line-of-duty deaths are caused by cancer. Today, the provincial government has made a commitment to firefighters and their families to recognize that those members who contract esophageal cancer will now need 15 years of service to be recognized as an occupational illness due to their years of service to our communities across Ontario. The importance of this recognition for firefighters and their families cannot be understated. Those that become ill no longer have to worry what will happen to their loved ones should they succumb to these terrible diseases. The acknowledgement that this is a line-of-duty death ensures that the families that are left behind will receive proper recognition of the sacrifice their loved one made and the security to move forward without them. This recognition will not replace the void left by the passing of a loved one, and it does not take away the pain or reverse the circumstances that led to their tragic death. On behalf of my brother and sister firefighters and their families, I'd like to thank Premier Doug Ford, Minister of Labour David Piccini, former Minister of Labour Monty McNaughton, and Solicitor General Michael Kersner for their unwavering support on this important recognition for firefighters across Ontario. Without you, this would not be possible. To the Bowman family and the families of our members who have yet to contract these terrible diseases, know this: we will continue to work to eradicate cancer from the fire service. We will continue to advocate for improved health and safety policies and procedures, for stronger preventative measures, early detection, and we will continue to advocate for personal protective equipment that is safe for us to use while conducting our duties, keeping Ontarians safe. To those of you on duty today, stay safe, and thank you to everyone for coming today for this important occasion and announcement. And thank you to the Bowman family for their courage during these difficult times. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.